Secretary Dr. Shwai, members of the Fourth Estate, Cabinet received an update on the summer crops and winter wheat marketing as presented by the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, Honorable Dr. A.J. Mashava. The nation is informed that the Grain Marketing Board maize stocks as at the 8th of October 2023 stood at 205,699 metric tons, while traditional grains stood at 48,103 metric tons. The total maize and traditional grain stock were at 253,802 metric tons. Cabinet wishes to inform the nation that the GMB wheat stocks as at 8 October 2023 stood at 137,586 metric tons. The nation is further informed that the area planted for the winter wheat is 90,192 hectares and the estimated harvest is 440,844 metric tons. Wheat harvesting has commenced with some 3,681 hectares harvested to date, and the government has already announced a marketing price of $520 per metric ton. The Acting Minister of Health and Child Care, Honorable Professor Amon Mruira, updated Cabinet on the cholera outbreak situation. Cabinet advises that as at 30 September 2023, Zimbabwe's cumulative suspected cholera cases were 4,436, with 4,246 recoveries. Manicaland Province and Harare Province contributed the highest number of cholera cases in Zimbabwe, having reported 1,934 and 1,627 cumulative cholera cases, respectively, by the 30th of September 2023. Cabinet reports that medicines and commodities supplies have been pre-positioned in districts with resource mobilization ongoing from national level as well as through provincial and district structures. And in addition to that, donors have also chipped in. The nation is informed that active surveillance is ongoing at all ports of entry, and Cabinet highlights that dissemination of information is being intensified in order to curb the spread of cholera. Furthermore, water quality monitoring, the monitoring of waste disposal, and waste management is ongoing in all provinces. Cabinet advises that the following activities have since been conducted in response to the surge in cases: wash activities against cholera in Harare, Gutu, Bikita, and Chiredzi districts. As sensitized on cholera in the past week, risk communication and community engagement committees were set up in 4 rural provinces of Masvingo, Matabeleland South, Manicaland, and Mashonaland Central provinces. Additionally, 20 risk communication and community engagement campaigns were conducted in Mashonaland East, and distribution of cholera information, education, and communication materials is ongoing. In light of the current cholera situation, Cabinet approved as follows: that traditional and religious leadership be engaged to facilitate public health measures to control cholera within communities, and that there be enforcement of laws on burials and city or council bylaws in order to ensure that the public health response to cholera is effective. The Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, Honorable Dr. A.J. Masuka, updated the Cabinet on the Tobacco Transformation Plan. The plan seeks to increase tobacco production to 300 million kgs by the year 2025 and to transform the industry into a $5 billion industry through exports of tobacco value-added products. The nation is informed that there has been an increase in volume as a result of post-harvest loss reduction and yield increases. During the 2022 to 2023 season, a record 296.1 million kilograms of tobacco worth $896 million was produced. Of this production, A1 and A2 farmers contributed 153,320,000 kilograms and valued at $480 million in terms of total production and value, which represents 52% and 54% respectively, which attests to the success of the land reform program. The nation is advised that the Tobacco Industry Marketing Board introduced the Compliance Administration Framework in the year 2022 in order to ensure that farmers received a minimum input package from contractors. Additionally, Statutory Instrument 77 of 2022 was introduced in 2022 in order to criminalize side marketing of crops. Regarding post-harvest loss reduction, there are ongoing farmer field days and training on post-harvest curing, storage, and use of more fuel-efficient barns in order to reduce losses from 15% to 10%. The Tobacco Research Board developed a fuel-efficient rocket barn and the Kutsaga counter current one barn, which reduces firewood usage by 50%. Research on alternative fuel types is ongoing at the TRB. The tobacco industry mentions have a voluntary levy collected under the auspices of the Sustainable Afforestation Association, which commenced planting eucalyptus trees in the year 2014. Cabinet reports that for the 2023 to 2024 season, 89,665 growers have registered so far, compared to 122,344 growers who had registered during the same period in the previous year. Due diligence is being taken to register only contracted growers that have been provided with the correct amount in terms of the minimum input package. There is a 1% increase in the tobacco seed sold this season and a 3% increase in area planted to irrigated tobacco farmers compared to the previous year. The nation is informed that to accelerate localization of tobacco funding to 70% of the cost of production by the year 2025, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe recently removed the requirement compelling tobacco merchants to source offshore financing to fund production and for buying green leaf from farmers. Cabinet advises that to increase the production of alternative crops and to increase their contribution to the farmer's income to 25% by the year 2025, TIMB is now offering global gap consultancy services to enable tobacco farmers to access global export markets for horticultural crops. Additionally, agronomic evaluation of imported industrial hemp varieties by the TRB has now been advanced to multi-location trials. On tobacco exports, Cabinet advises that this season 145 million kgs have been exported at an average price of US $4.97 per kg, compared to 122 million kgs at a price of US $4.54 per kg the previous year. There are opportunities to increase the level of value addition and beneficiation of tobacco into cataract and cigarette production from 2% of tobacco produced to 30%. The construction of a new cigarette manufacturing plant and the cataract processing factories is underway, and this will result in an increase in terms of processing capacity by 50% in the first half of the year 2024. Cabinet also received a report on the highly pathogenic avian influenza from South Africa and the implications for Zimbabwe, as presented by the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, Honorable Dr. A.J. Masuka. The nation is being informed that South Africa is currently experiencing outbreaks of 2 different strains of highly pathogenic avian influenza HPA1, H5N8 and H7N6 in 7 of its 9 provinces. The government has instituted the following preventive measures, among others, through the Department of Veterinary Services. Activation of rapid response teams, the awareness campaigns to the poultry industry value chain players and the public on the urgent need to strengthen their biosecurity measures. The poultry sector is urged to institute the following measures: to limit movement of people, feed and farm equipment from other poultry enterprises, and not to feed wild birds coming to their homesteads or their farms. Farmers should contact the nearest veterinary offices for guidance. The Minister of Tourism and Hospitality Industry, Honorable Barbara Rodzi, reported on the Shanganani World Tourism Expo to be held in Bulawayo from the 12th to the 14th of October 2023. The nation is being informed that 365 companies have to date confirmed participation compared to 275 last year. There has been an increase in the number of international exhibitors from 23 in 2022 to 34 this year. The international exhibitors are from South Africa, Mozambique, Rwanda, Malawi, Zambia, Iran, and Botswana. There will also be 100 buyers from key source markets of Africa, the Middle East, Asia, Europe, and America. Running alongside the exhibition will be forums and social events aimed at further affording exhibitors and buyers more time to engage and share ideas. Cabinet received and considered and approved the combined 16th periodic report under the People's Rights and second periodic report under the protocol to the African Charter on the Rights of Women in Africa as presented by the Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Ziyambi Ziyambi. The nation is advised that Zimbabwe ratified the African Charter on Human and People's Rights and the protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the Rights of Women in Africa, which is the Maputo Protocol, in 1986 and in the year 2008, respectively. The Maputo Protocol was developed to promote and protect human rights, and in particular to protect the rights of women and girls on the African continent. Upon ratification, Zimbabwe assumed the obligation under Article 62 of the ACHPR and Article 26, subsection 1 of the Maputo Protocol to submit every 2 years from the date instruments come into force periodic reports on legislative, administrative, and other measures taken with the view of giving effect to the rights and freedoms recognized and guaranteed by these instruments. Cabinet reports that the report provides details of the progress made and measures taken during the period under review from the year 2019 to date in the promotion and protection of human and people's rights in Zimbabwe, showing the state parties' commitment in improving and upholding human rights of its citizenry. Information is provided with regards to the constitutional, legislative, and administrative measures undertaken by the government of Zimbabwe to implement obligations arising from the ACHPR and the Maputo Protocol. Pertaining the African Charter on Human People's Rights, the 16th periodic report, the nation is informed that 15 regional and international instruments are set to be ratified. Cabinet advises that during the period under review, the country had promulgated the Freedom of Information Act, which repealed the Access to Information and Protection of Privacy Act, IPA, on the right to freedom of assembly and association. It is reported that in a bid to entrench democratic values and align legislation with the Constitution, the country has enacted the Maintenance of Peace and Order Act, which repealed the Public Order and Security Act. The nation is informed that climate change had impacted on human rights of the citizens. Furthermore, the report provides both legislative and administrative measures taken to protect the rights of refugees and migrants in line with international law. Pertaining persons with disabilities, the nation is informed that the government is in the process of amending the current Disabled Persons Act through the Persons with Disabilities Bill so as to domesticate some of the UNCRPD provisions regarding older persons. Measures have been put in place to protect rights of older persons, especially in the rural areas, bearing in mind that their own realities as compared to their counterparts in the urban areas. Cabinet advises that the second periodic report under the protocol to the African Charter on the Rights of Women in Africa provides general progress that had taken place on the promotion and protection of women's rights in Zimbabwe. These measures included the following: elimination of discrimination against women in all spheres of life and the upholding of women's rights to be treated with dignity, the right to life, integrity, and security of persons, the elimination of harmful cultural practices, the right for women to access to justice and equal protection before the law, and participation of women in political structures. The report focuses on the right to education and training for women, economic and social welfare for women, health and reproductive rights interventions, the right to food, the establishment of human settlements, initiatives to pursue the promotion and preservation of the Zimbabwean culture, values and practices, and the right to sustainable development. Cabinet also received an update on the 2023 SADC Anti-Sanctions Day as presented by the Minister of Defense, who is also the Acting Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Honorable OCZ Muchinguri Kashiri. The nation is being informed that the SADC Anti-Sanctions Day will be held on the 25th of October 2023 under the theme Harnessing the Youth for Accelerated Socio-Economic Development in the Fight Against Sanctions. The theme recognizes the youth's resilience, courage, fortitude, and unflinching determination in the face of illegal sanctions. The youth have heeded His Excellency the President, Comrade Idi Mnangagwa's clarion call that nyika inovakwa nevene vayo, and are playing a significant role in the development of our country. His Excellency the President, Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, will deliver a televised keynote address to mark the Anti-Sanctions Day. The address will be distributed on all social media platforms, targeting the youth in order to enhance awareness of the negative impact of sanctions. There will also be short and brief anti-sanctions marches within school premises and around workstations for government workers. An anti-sanctions musical show will also be held. The Minister of Defense, Honorable OCZ Muchinguri Kashiri, who is also the Acting Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, reported on the joint tour of the Beitbridge border post by His Excellency the President, Dr. Idi Mnangagwa, and his South African counterpart, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, on 5 October 2023. The nation is being informed that the two presidents undertook a tour of the South African and Zimbabwean sides of the Beitbridge border post. On the South African side, the principals toured, among other facilities, the new bridge and the vehicle and the cargo scanner technology. On the Zimbabwean side, both Presidents Ramaphosa and President Idi Mnangagwa were impressed by the work in terms of the refurbished new border post and undertook to work together in terms of modernizing all border control infrastructure. President Cyril Ramaphosa noted that the efforts had promoted efficiency on the Zimbabwean side by reducing transit times, procedural delays, and traffic congestion, as it separated trucks, buses, and light vehicles. The two heads of state expressed the common desire to make their border systems and infrastructure compatible to each other in order to facilitate efficient movement of people and to promote cross-border trade. The Minister of National Housing and Social Amenities, Honorable Daniel Garwe, who is also the Acting Minister of Local Government and Public Works, updated Cabinet on the plane crash that occurred in Mashava area in Masvingo province. Pertaining the Riozin plane crash, the nation is advised that the government of Zimbabwe has availed $12 million as funeral assistance for the 6 bereaved families, and logistics are underway in order to ensure that all the families receive funeral assistance. I thank you. Thank you, Chief Secretary. The first question, the first and second question relates to Honorable Masuka. The first one is, what are the plans to save the tobacco auction system? And the second question relates to what is the uptake in terms of the new efficient tobacco bans. Honorable Dr. Masuka can respond.
Doing to save the auction system. I think we need to put this into context. In 2004, when tobacco production plummeted to 48 million kilograms from the high of 237 million kilograms in 1998, this was because of the collapse of collateral-based lending following the land reform program. And we had to come up with innovations to ensure that in the new financing landscape, non-collateral-based lending would then include value chain financing being contract production. And since the introduction of that, we introduced a dual marketing system, being a contract system and an auction system. An auction system where the farmer, with their own resources, would go to a bank and be able to borrow based on collateral of some sort. So we fast forward to this year, 93% of the tobacco is produced under the contract system of the 296.1 million kilograms produced this season, which leaves a very small proportion for the auction system. And that auction system, within the industry, the auction opens a day earlier for price discovery. And the contract system then follows a day later. And the prices that are offered at the contract system should be on par or above those offered at the auction system. And people have been postulating the death of the auction system for the past 19 years. But it has not happened. And I hope that it will continue to operate alongside the contract system. The magnitude of the business generated in this area is reducing for the obvious reasons that collateral-based lending is also reducing. It's not saving the auction floors, because I think that they ought to more innovate and be able to provide the tobacco sales services to the contractors. There's no reason why a contractor should build their own contracting sales floor when there are existing spaces to sell tobacco in. So I think these will continue to find business. We have an increasing volume of tobacco that must be sold. And it must be sold in these spaces. So the business will continue. And I've seen even innovative auction houses that have decentralized to where the tobacco is produced. As you are aware, we have 6 selling points other than Harare, Bintura, through to Rusape, where these are happening. So I see a bit of innovation. We want to preserve the auction system for the price discovery mechanism. We want those that are involved in the auction business or were involved to be able to be innovative, to provide sales services to contracting companies so that this business continues. The second one from Takuchi Ambakwe is about climate smart bans and the uptake by farmers. Yes. In the current environment, the contractors predominantly finance working capital requirements, which is seasonal finance, and infrastructure financing is very limited. So the farmers have to generate sufficient savings to put up these structures. But they are fairly simple structures. We are looking at a financing arrangement within AFC and TIMB and elsewhere within government to be able to support farmers in their transition to more cost-efficient curing systems. So in due course, we'll be able to report on the uptake of this countercurrent ban and also the rocket ban that the Tobacco Research Board has innovated around and made available to farmers. Thank you.
for the business generation for this World Tourism Expo. For our sector, definitely having more exhibitors would generate more business for us. We had a set number for 300 between 300 and 320 exhibitors, and now to date we have 356 companies that has registered to be exhibiting. And as well, buyers, when they come to this exhibition, it's a target for us as a country in terms of our products. So the more the buyers, it entails that we have more business for our country's products. We had a set target for 80 buyers, but it has translated to date to about 100 buyers who have come right now, which means, of course, there are other exhibitors from other countries, but it also entails that we have more people that are attracted to our destinations and to our country products that we have in terms of tourism. So it's good news for us. Those are the set target for exhibition and for buyers. And also, we are also aiming to have our small to medium business people in this sector to have more buyers to interact with. And we've set a stand on their own to be interacting more. In the past years, they used to be mixed with the big boys in the industry, and they would not be identified clearly. But this year, we've put them on their own, whereby they will be known as small to medium enterprises in tourism sector, which we are targeting that more buyers should interact with them, as they also have good products that can be attractive. But thank you.
Thank you very much. The Minister of Local Government through the Civil Protection Unit, working together with the local community, managed to rescue 22 people from the trap and retrieve 6 bodies. We still have up to 30 people that are underground at the moment. The ground is moving. There are some earth movements that are happening, which is threatening the lives of the rescue teams, and the operations have been stopped for now until a suitable area to enter the ground is established. But that is the status as it now. Thank you.
We set out, and when we did the second round of crops and livestock assessment, we projected 2.7 million metric tons of cereals against human and animal consumption requirement annually of 2.2 million metric tons, 1.8 million for human consumption, 400,000 metric tons for animal consumption. Cumulatively, you will appreciate that this season is different from prior seasons. We introduced the structured liberalization of marketing, where contractors can now purchase directly from their contracted farmers. In prior years, every production surplus was going through the GMB. So we account for this separately. The intake at GMB, which is meant for the strategic grain reserve, and the intake by those value chain financiers, contractors, including those farmers that have self-financed themselves, that are regarded as contractors. So that's the 282,000 metric tons that has been the intake this year, of which 97,000 metric tons is via GMB, about 34% of the total intake this year. However, what you are referring to are the stocks at GMB, made up of 205,000 metric tons of maize and 48,000 metric tons of traditional grains. Cumulatively, 253,000 metric tons of the strategic grain reserve, which we will be able to use for social welfare requirements should there be a need. So we have national food security, but there would be areas where we will be able to give these should the need arise. So I thought that context is important for us to frame things correctly. Tobacco processing plants, these are private sector driven. the government provides an enabling policy and environment for private sector investment to happen, and the investments that are currently taking place are for over $1 million in the industrial areas of Harare, where cataract processing, where a bit of value addition and beneficiation will happen to augment what the seven processing companies and cigarette manufacturing companies are already doing. And these will be operational by mid-2024, increasing the current processing capacity by 50%. The NMJ, the clarification on the wheat pricing policy. I don't know where the 400 is coming from. I don't remember whether we miscommunicated from a ministry perspective, but the official position is that for wheat, with two prices that were announced. We announced a pre-planting price for wheat of $520 per metric ton. And we've just announced a marketing price of $520.25. So there's no miscommunication. We use a cost-plus approach, realizing that we are still a high-cost production country. So we say, what does it cost to produce a hectare of wheat at a defined yield? And this is how we have arrived at the $520.25 per metric ton for wheat. However, you can use the import parity pricing methodology to interrogate the reasonability of your pricing and how competitive your local farmers might be. If you used that, depending on where you are importing the wheat from and whether you are using a futures market, you will find that the wheat will land at between 420 to upwards of $450 per metric ton. But we promised the farmers $520, and we said go out, all out, and grow wheat. We've done a record planting of 90,000 and a record volume expected of 440,000 metric tons. Government has lived to its promise and policy consistency that will pay farmers favorably in order to spur wheat self-sufficiency and prime ourselves for exports this year and into the future. Thank you.